Hey guys, what's up and welcome to my channel. And this week I'm making some art. Now, before all of the non-artistic people click off of this video, this is all going to be easy art anyone can make for their home. I personally love art, I love drawing, I love painting, but I also get not everybody is like that. So I am always in search of art projects like the ones I have planned today to show you guys, no matter what your artistic level is, you can make some dope art for your home, because art can be pretty expensive, and the cheap art, in my opinion, is cheap for a reason, and DIYing some art is usually cheaper than even the cheap art. So instead of just getting cheap art, spend less money and make some dope art. Yeah. So with all of that being said, let's get started making some art. Okay, so I have 3 pieces of art that I am going to be making today, and I decided to put them in order of least messy to most messy. So for this first art that I'm going to be making, I have a canvas, I've got some craft cording, I've got a staple gun with some staples, and a pair of scissors. And basically what I'm going to be making is a woven cording tapestry thing. I'm not really sure what to call this art. I don't think it has like an actual name, but I have seen it all over the internet. So for my cording, I've got tan, white, and black. Most of these are just leftover from some macrame projects that I did a long time ago. If you want to do a more colorful version of this, I know there is colorful cording out there somewhere. You're probably going to have better luck finding colorful cording online. Okay, so what I'm gonna start off doing is cutting a whole bunch of strands of cording to span the length of the canvas. Basically, I just need the pieces to be long enough so that they can wrap around the edges of the canvas and I can staple them in the back. Let's start off with some white cording. Starting off bold. Now I just get to figure out how many pieces of this white cording that I want to use. Okay, so I just cut 12 strands of this white cording, and I'm gonna flip over my canvas. Maybe take 3 at a time, because I feel like stapling 1 at a time is a little much. Staple! These are long enough, right? Oh yeah, those are plenty long enough. Now let's repeat the process. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I have my first section all stapled in place. So even though I've never made this art before, I have done my fair share of weaving projects. And so what I think is gonna be easiest and allow for the most flexibility in this art and how it looks in the end is by stapling one side and leaving the other side loose for the time being until I get all of the pieces stapled on one side. So I'm gonna get started cutting a bunch of pieces of this cording to run the length of the canvas and getting them stapled in place, and then we can go from there. I have a little bit of a chaotic mess on my hands. Okay, so I think what the easiest thing to do is to flip these all this way and then take all of these pieces and flip them that way. Okay, now I have to flip it over, but I'm gonna take this section and staple it down. This is definitely going to be a little chaotic for a hot second until I get more sections stapled down. Okay, what do I wanna do next? What do I wanna do next? Do I have a game plan? No, I do not. But I think this is pretty darn easy. Okay, so I have some sections stapled down, and just like I thought, the more sections you get stapled down, the easier this gets because there's not so many loose pieces flying around. But I'm just gonna go ahead and quickly finish this up so that we can move on to the second piece of art. Okay, now we get to make some more art, and this next art piece that I'm gonna be making is for all of my people out there that are much more likely to pick up a power tool than a paintbrush. So I'm not exactly sure what to call this art again because I don't think it has a name, but let's call it angled textured wooden art. And I did have to do a little bit of prep work to get ready for this piece. Yesterday, I took a 2x4, I squared it up, and then I cut that 2x4 in half using my table saw. And then from there, using my miter saw, I started cutting down the 2x4s into a whole bunch of different pieces, with one side having a straight cut and one side having some kind of angled cut. And I just played around with the angles and just had fun cutting that 2x4 into a whole bunch of different pieces. Then I took all of those tiny little pieces of wood that had an angled cut and I sanded them down, and that gave me this. That was a mess. Why did I do that? Anyway, oh, now there's sawdust everywhere. Okay, so I have this thin MDF board that I had laying around from a previous project. I'm gonna use this as the backing to this art that I'm about to make. And I'm just gonna start off by taking all of these pieces and laying them out across this MDF board and making sure I like the way it looks, and then we can go from there. What am I doing? Okay. Okay, so I actually think this looks really dope and really cool how it is right now. And I have seen some of this art where people did just leave it like this and glue the pieces down. But what a lot of people will do is either stain the pieces or paint all of these pieces of wood. I personally like the stained ones that I've seen because then you can still see the wood grain, whereas obviously if you paint it, you can't see the wood grain anymore. And I think it takes away from the fact that this is all made out of wood. So I'm gonna quickly test out these stains that I had laying around, see what stains I like, and come up with a game plan for what I want this big piece to look like. Okay, so I just went ahead and tested out a bunch of stains and came up with a game plan for what I am gonna do with my piece. So I kind of determined that I want to do a dark to light ombre look with the stains that I have. So I'm gonna get to work staining all of these pieces and trying my best to create an ombre look with these stains that I have. Good morning! So I let all of these pieces sit overnight. I didn't want to go ahead and glue these down while the stain was wet in case I wanted to make adjustments to any of the coloring or placement of any of these pieces. But now that the stain is dry, I really like the way this looks. I like the dark to light to dark ombre look that I went for. I think it looks really cool. So I'm gonna get started gluing all of these pieces down. Okay, and we have the last one. Yay! That took a while. Okay, so a lot of these first pieces are already dry, so I think I can just go ahead and start putting a glossy top coat over all of this, and then I'll cut off this extra part over here that I have of the MDF board that's backing this thing up, and this art piece will be done. Okay, so now it is time for the third and final art that I am going to be making. And this is the art that I was like the most excited for, and the art that definitely like prompted this video. So I really love textured art. I've done the whole plaster art. I've done the whole mixing joint compound and paint to make really cool textured abstract art. But there is a technique that I have seen online that I think takes textured art to a whole new level. And that is taking some fabric and mixing it with joint compound and using fabric and joint compound together to create this like overly textured art, and it looks so cool. So to do this art, I've got a canvas right here that I prepped yesterday by painting it black. I've got some black fabric here because my overall painting, I just want it to be like black and really textured, no color whatsoever, because color comes to my channel to die. And then I've got a measuring cup that I'm gonna use to fill this bucket with joint compound. I've got some water to create this mixture. I probably should have gotten a bigger bucket because that's not gonna fit well, but we're gonna try our best, and it's just gonna be messy and I don't care. And oh, down here I have some 5-minute quick set of joint compounds. So I'm gonna get started making this mixture. I was hoping by using the 5-minute quick set that it will dry faster and I can kind of keep layering it, then it won't take as long. Yeah, I definitely should have gotten a bigger bucket. This is gonna be such a mess. Yeah, this bucket is so not big enough. Oh, this is just so messy. And yes, I did realize that mixing black fabric with white joint compound, black fabric most likely was not going to stay black, but I was hoping it would just help with the amount of painting I'll have to do in the end to make this all black. Well, I said I was starting out from least messy to most messy, and now I'm just gonna kind of drape this in some kind of pretty way. Do I know what I'm doing? No, I do not. Oh, my nose itches. Oh no. Okay, I just mixed some more like watery joint compound, and I'm just using a paintbrush to saturate some of this fabric a bit more. Okay, so I think I'm happy with how this first layer is looking. I'm gonna let this dry, and then I will be back when this first layer is dry and we can kind of keep building on what I already have. I think. Good morning. So the first layer took a lot longer to dry than I thought it was going to take. Yeah, the first layer ended up drying by like 10 o'clock last night. I ended up moving a fan in here to help speed up the process of drying. So at 10 o'clock last night, I quickly came in here and did a second layer of the watered down joint compound. And now I am left with this. The fabric is very stiff. It's not going anywhere. I can lift it up and it's stuck on there, but I'm gonna really quickly staple the fabric to the back of this canvas so that I know for sure that it's actually on here. She's looking good, look at her. My original plan after I got done with the joint compound mixture was to go through and do some normal acrylic paint and paint over this whole thing. Well, now what I'm thinking might be easier is to just spray paint this thing, because spray paint will actually get into all of these little crevices a lot easier and a lot nicer than acrylic paint would. So I am going to quickly sand some areas down that I just want to smooth out, and then I'll head outside to spray paint this thing, and then it'll be done. For this last piece, I did end up doing one coat of acrylic paint just because after the spray paint, it still looked a little patchy, but I am still glad I used spray paint first just to quickly fill in all of those gaps first. And for all of the art I made in this video, to give it a more finished look, I made some frames. For the first and last piece, I made some frames that just slid right onto the canvas, and since they were a nice tight fit, they just stayed in place with nothing holding them. And for the wood art, I was able to cut 4 pieces of wood and nail them directly to the art. I think all the frames gave each piece a much more polished look. I had so much fun making all of this art. I've seen a bunch of different versions of this online, and I was excited to try it all out. I would love to know which piece of art was your favorite. I hope you guys liked this video and all these projects. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys!